It's an interesting phenomenon when we can be one person, one personality when we're on stage singing, and then somebody completely different backstage. I want to dive into this conundrum a little bit and make sure that we are moving forward with integrity and also peace of mind.
Hola, my friend. I'm Melissa V. Cartwright, and welcome to the Passionate Performer podcast. You have a voice that deserves to be heard. And you also deserve to have a performance career where you don't feel like you're sacrificing who you are to meet the demands of the industry. So we are here to help you problem solve those challenges, figure out why we're feeling the way we do, and give you the next right step. You ready? Let's go.
Mis amigos, mis amigas, my fellow passionate performers, I took a week off last week because life is lifing, but really in a really wonderful way. And 'tis the season, right? If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you are getting busy too, as we are in these BER months, these BER months, October, November, December, between fall festivals and auditions for holiday shows and people already trying to book you for holiday gigs. Things start taking off, don't they? And thankfully in my life too, that has been the case. You guys know that I did an encore of my cabaret for Hispanic Heritage Month, which was oh so lovely. And even from that opportunity, some other things have spawned from that. In fact, I just began rehearsals just yesterday for another original theatrical work. A couple of years ago, I went on a journey with being a part of Pelagius, a new musical. We've talked about that on the podcast as well. And since then, I've had this longing to participate again in helping to workshop or helping to get an original work off the ground. And thankfully, I've been given this opportunity with a play called Nolan's Wake that's playing at the Insider's Dream Theater. And I've been wanting to actually work alongside this theater for a long time because I know that they champion new works. And so I'm really excited about what's ahead with that, in addition to some other holiday performances as well. And so, yeah, there's a lot of good energy for these fall months as we head into the end of the year, and the end of the year and all its festivities really call upon performing vocalists like you and like me to provide entertainment and to provide music for these events. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that this past weekend, I was a part of a really cool female showcase for singers and songwriters, women in music. I was invited by Cecily Landfield. She's known as Lavender Music. I'm going to tag her here so you can check out her music as well. And almost like hosting a mini Lilith Fair here where I live, to share the stage with three other incredible powerhouse women was inspiring, because I know one of my personal goals coming into this new year, and I'm sharing this out loud on purpose with you, is to really lean into more of my original music. I've been writing for years, but I've never published anything. I've never recorded anything. And this next year, I really want to invest in that. So I want to take you on the journey so you can see me stumble and also hopefully succeed, right, in this venture as we move forward. Something I've talked about with my clients inside of our Passionate Performer program, as well as I've witnessed in all the years that I've been singing in my life, is there seems to be this duality of the person who's singing on stage and the person behind the scenes, off stage. I think this is more of an observation in human behavior. It doesn't matter the space, because it does not matter where you perform, what genre of music you're performing. I see this across the board, even in faith spaces, right? If you do church music, I've seen this dichotomy of who I am the moment I put a microphone to my face and who I am when I'm not singing behind the stage. The way we feel about our voices and the way we craft our artistic identity, which we talk a lot about inside the program and inside of my Slay the Stage course as well. The reason we spend so much time and energy talking about this is so that when we are in spaces where there's a very negative energy surrounding us, we need to know who we are, and we need to be grounded in who we are and in what we do, because I promise you, if you have not experienced this, you will be put in places that will challenge that piece. that will challenge that certainty. And this is why we talk about this so much, why I bring on guest experts as well to talk us through making sure that we implement these tools as much as you are practicing your vocal technique, that you are also practicing the mental exercise of knowing who you are. And even if you find that that is evolving, right? Even if your artistry, your musical style, the way that you want to present yourself to an audience, you feel like that's changing for you in whatever season of life you find yourself in right now, excellent. But it is important to bring specificity and language to that because, like I said, you're going to be challenged. And here's why. Some people choose to put on a performance persona, right? An alter ego, like Lady Gaga, who is Stephanie in real life, but her performance name is Lady Gaga. She has found a way to bring the theatrics to her artistic career while also still showing us some vulnerability. And she can only do that, and artists like her can only do that when you are certain of who you are, okay? And so if you're feeling a disconnect, this is probably why. Maybe we haven't brought specificity to who you are as a person and as an artist, okay? So that, just to identify the what and the why of what we're feeling, that may be the culprit. So how do we move forward? How can we take the next right step to show up in spaces when we're challenged? In fact, I'm not going to rehash a lot of this. I want you to maybe push pause on this or make a note to go back and listen to episode 66, Why Do I Sing? Because I walk you through exactly some points on how to really bring definition to who you are as a singer and who you are as a performing artist. So once you've done that, come back to this moment because this is the implementation of knowing who you are. Okay, and I'm going to share some examples, some real life scenarios that I know you've probably witnessed. And this is not to make you feel bad if you have made this mistake. It's just to bring some language to what it is we're dealing with and how we can show up in spaces and practice your branding and how you want to show up with integrity. So this is very common because it comes from a place of such high level insecurity. And it's sometimes said as a trope that the performing artist or the actor or the flashiest person in the room can also be the most insecure because they're using it as a defense mechanism. That can be true, but it isn't always true. All right. So if you have ever been in a green room situation, behind the scenes or in a holding room, basically when you are not singing and you are with other artists or other people while you're waiting your turn, and people all of a sudden start shit talking, either themselves or other people. They really start criticizing, critiquing poorly. And have you ever found yourself in a situation where it's really easy to just indulge, to go with and match that energy? Because I don't know, sometimes it feels like we don't have a choice or we want acceptance, or we did it and we look back and we're like, who was that? I'm not even like that. Why did I choose to engage in that behavior? And knowing who you are as a person and as an artist helps. This can be your North Star in situations like this. And sometimes it takes a little bit more work, right? To be the one salmon that's swimming upstream and not laugh at the joke or just not have a reaction to the self-deprecation that's going on from a fellow artist who's, you gave them a compliment and they immediately start just tearing themselves apart and saying how awful it was. Sometimes all it takes is for you just to be silent when they're expecting you to indulge in basically the Regina George scene of like, oh yeah, I'm fat too, that kind of vibe, but with our singing and with our voices. You will be so surprised how just your silence or just a very neutral posture with your face, if you're watching this on YouTube, how that can really turn the tide and really be like, oh, we're going to diffuse this firestorm that's happening right now of all the negativity. And when you start doing that, my friend, I guarantee it is going to feel so freaking uncomfortable. It's going to feel like someone pushed the pause button and all it was 30 seconds. If that, maybe it was only 2 seconds, but it's going to feel like an eternity for you to just practice the art of purposeful silence in that moment, or not reciprocating the negativity or the self-deprecation. And something that we can probably do for each other as artists is not, oh no, don't say that, you were amazing. The same curiosity that we have for ourselves when we're met with limiting beliefs or with, thoughts that pop up and we're like, where is this coming from? You can ask that same question, like, oh, really? Where's that coming from? And it makes them pause. Not that it needs to turn into a therapy session, right? You're not their counselor. But if anything, you're offering a gift that has worked for yourself. Like, why do you think that? I'm just curious, because at that point, they're like, oh man, I messed this up so bad, this and that, and I can still say, I didn't hear anything, which I have said that. But in that state, it may come across as condescending, like you're not even acknowledging what it is they're saying. And I'm just like, why do you think that? And then it helps them realize like, oh, well, my voice cracked or I didn't practice. No, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And then there's footage, right, to prove that it wasn't as bad if somebody has a video of it. But that is definitely something that I encourage you to practice for yourself, but also that you can practice in those types of settings. It could be transformative for the way that you want to engage in conversation, if you do choose to engage in conversation. I think it's worth us talking about that for a second. Like, some people just can't do the small talk or the banter in between their sets or songs. Sometimes it's just from a functional standpoint, like they don't want to yap. They want to save their voice, right? But if you do choose to socialize, these are things that you can have in your back pocket when you're being met with a wave of negative energy and you just cannot engage. In fact, you engaging would be very insincere because that's not you and that's not how you want to show up. And for all of the conversations that there are in our industry about transforming it, about doing better, there was just news that came out about the Broadway Musicians League basically going on strike, And so we demand change and we demand that industry professionals do better for us as artists, or that artists do better, but it starts with us. It starts with us, my friend. And you may think that one moment of neutrality or diffusing a very negative moment for a person's confidence and stage presence and, the moxie that they need to do their job, you may think that doesn't bear weight, but it does. And the next time you're like, well, what can I do? I'm just a person who goes to the brewery on the weekend and plays my guitar and sings. You may never know how that one moment was the pivot for someone else in that moment to rethink and recalibrate and maybe even go down a path just like you are going down by listening to this episode, of really redefining and reclaiming the joy that we deserve to have as we do this, as we share our voices, as we share our music, as we choose to get up in front of people and say, I see you. And hey, this is me. And hey, I want to share something with you, So I don't think it's woo-woo or fluffy at all to be thinking about these things and the impact that they can have, okay? So next time you're in a really, I'll say very spicy moment with other people who just can't stop talking with the negativity, whether it's about themselves or others, that's one thing that you can ask if you feel like you can't remove yourself from the situation or you don't want to. Maybe you really do want to engage and be like, no, let's try something else. You can remove yourself as well. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think we have this perception that, oh no, am I going to be seen as antisocial? Sometimes our performance opportunities are also networking opportunities for the next gig. But sometimes, I'll say, the most important thing is for you to get the job done and to do it well. If you being a part of that backstage in a green room setting or wherever you are is going to inhibit you from really showing up to give your best work, to show up as your best self, and you find that the only option that's going to help you do that is to remove yourself from the situation if you can, please do. You owe it to yourself. Because at places, right, like a theater setting, you're going to want to be able to show up and do the thing and do it well. You're being employed in that moment. And even if you're a hobby singer, you want to have a reputation, that precedes you of excellence and integrity, castability if you're in the theater world, or gigability, right? For someone to be like, yeah, I know a guy, I know a person. Yeah, they're great, book them, or whatever the case may be in the setting that you're singing in. So if you just don't want to deal and you don't have the energy for a conversation, own that, remove yourself. You owe it to your own peace of mind and to whatever it is your brain needs and your body needs in order for you to sing and show up the way that you want to. Okay. So number one, you can ask curious questions to diffuse a situation. Number two, remove yourself if you don't want to engage. And here's the thing. Here's what I have found in my own personal experience, because I feel like I'm seeing this in my own life right now in the performance settings that I'm in. And also what I'm finding in conversations with my one-on-one clients inside of our Passionate Performer membership. I was hired to sing for an event, and the person said, yes, you came highly recommended. They said that not only were you a fantastic singer, but that you're so professional. What does that even mean? Professionalism, that can mean so many different things. But when somebody tells me that, it means that I've shown up, a testament to the work that I've done. And going back to our previous episode about singer successes, being able to have the peace of mind and the celebration to say, I am, yes, thank you. That is a true statement because I've done the work of showing up with excellence, doing what is asked of me. If they say I'm supposed to be off book such and such day, you better believe I'm not going to only be off book that day. I'm probably going to try to be off book the day before. They want me to memorize all the lyrics and the chords to this song, then you better believe I am going to have to make space in my schedule and say no to things so that I have created adequate practice time for myself. I think in our gigging, in our booking, in our taking every single performance opportunity that we have, I think we miss out on the power of also creating space to prepare for the things that you're saying yes to. Yeah, little time management skills. I'm saying this out loud because I'm having to implement that right this very second by starting rehearsals for this play. Like musicals, super easy for me to pick up lines and choreo and songs, but this is a straight play and it has content in it that is very heavy, and my character in particular reveals a very powerful and heavy story. And so how am I going to create space in my brain and time to make sure that I am running lines and doing the character development work on my own to do the job, right? So I just want to applaud you and say the work you are doing now, the investment that you are doing now, I promise you, you will see the returns on it. You will see the returns. And my friend, the returns is not just booking the job. It is you being able to book that job and then move forward with a sense of purpose, a sense of knowing who you are, a sense of, yes, confidence. We're still very tempted to diminish ourselves and to show up in performance spaces just with this kind of posture. Like if you see me on YouTube, I'm kind of crouched over and I'm like, thank you. Our bodies are probably going through a process of being able to accept that for ourselves too, which is why it feels so uncomfortable sometimes. Yeah, so I am not trying to diminish that process at all. I know that it's something that we have to work out. We have to practice. But my friend, if you find all of a sudden that you're not necessarily taking that posture anymore, Like you can sense your shoulders being pulled back and relaxed, and you can take a deep breath, and you can go into a situation with a level head or a clear head with eyes wide open into that first rehearsal, into that first set, into opening night, whatever you step into. I don't want you to gloss over that. It is worth noting and celebrating and saying, yes, yes. And I'm going to use Sophie Addict's exercise again, speaking in second person. Yes, Melissa. Yes, you belong in this room. Yes, they offered you the part. Yes, you have what it takes to tell the story in the only way that you can, because the playwright saw your audition tape and wanted you, and you were the embodiment of that character that they wrote. Okay, I just went through that exercise live with you in real time. I have not said that to myself out loud just yet, but that is a real life situation I'm in right now. I'm going to use in a moment where I may get challenged, whether it's by my own thoughts or whether it's by conversations and banter that I'm surrounded by. So my friend, I hope that you're like, hell yeah, let's go, let's do this. And if you're finding yourself still feeling like, can I do this? You can. You're not alone in this process. You have a whole internet full of resources at your disposal. And if you're interested or even curious about what the Passionate Performer program can offer you when it comes to how to break down the strategy for you as you move forward with your performance goals, please feel free to reach out. I always have that information listed in my show notes. And hey, if you are finding that these episodes are like, yes, like you're out loud saying, yes, I needed to hear this, it would mean the world for you to leave a comment, a review, rate the show, because you know the power of this, of being able to step into your calling as a passionate performer. And when we have tasted that and we're experiencing that, we can't help but want to share that with other people too. Yeah, so thank you so much. If you have been one of those gracious people who have told your friends about it, shared it, thank you so much. I am cheering for you, I am rooting for you, and you deserve to do this with full joy, with full alignment, with full confidence. I'm gonna say it with full confidence and chutzpah and gumption, and insert whatever word feels like moxie to you. You got this, passionate performer. Nos vemos.